You know what's sitting in your inbox right now?
Emails from customers and prospects, maybe, hopefully a lot of them.
Yeah, maybe. Questions, complaints. Hey, how does this work? What's your return policy? Is this right for my kid? Just piling up.
And if you're like me, you're answering them manually, one at a time.
Yeah, every single one.
But Jesse, what if you didn't have to do that?
Great question, Chris. Today, we're taking all of that, the emails, the reviews, the frequently asked questions, stuff you already have, and we're going to feed it to Claude to build a knowledge base.
Yeah, and then we're going to go further. We're going to use Claude Code to turn that knowledge base into an actual chatbot.
Yeah, one that lives on your website, answers questions at 2 a.m. while you're sleeping.
Yeah, and we built the whole thing for a fake baseball equipment store, which is really fun. Jesse's idea. And it took about the length of the show.
Yeah, no dev, no monthly SaaS beyond Claude and your website platform, and no coding experience required.
Yeah, just your data that you already have and Claude.
This is the Shift AI Show presented by Aweber. If you can imagine it, you can do it with Aweber. All right, fresh stinger today.
Solid one, solid.
Well, it was like topic appropriate, right?
Yes.
I don't know what that chatbot was or where they were learning about the Shift AI Show, but hey, I'll take it. Yeah, so first of all, great episode on Tuesday with Alicia. I had a lot of fun watching, and not gonna lie, I was watching from 36,000 feet up in the air on my way to Houston, and I don't know, I can't confirm, but I think maybe I'm our first to watch from 5 miles up in the air, 6 miles up in the air.
Possibly, you get the honor.
Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna claim it. Nobody else has. But seriously, great show. It was a lot of fun, super informative, and obviously Alicia is always great. So I appreciate that. I'm sure it was a fun time. So today, I had this idea. We were conducting an interview that we're going to be sharing really soon with an incredible creator, and they were talking about kind of creating like a knowledge base, like an AI brain. And it got me thinking and just kind of realizing, like, how could we implement something like that as a small business in a way that's practical and useful right now? We all know, everybody here watching knows that it's hard to drive traffic to your website. And when you do, you don't want them to bounce. You don't want them to, not quickly find what they need or not find a path to finding what they need and depart. And you can't be there physically to engage with them in each of those sessions. One way that we try to do that is like great email signups and things like that to be able to re-engage later. But a chatbot's a really great way of ensuring that they have a way to interact with you, hopefully find an answer to their problem or a path to finding that answer.
Yeah, and like the underlying principle here too of just trying to centralize your data into something that makes sense as a knowledge base is incredibly helpful. Like the better you can organize your data, or at least combine your data about your business, the more powerful all the AI tools you're going to use are going to be, because they are going to have access to all the things that or many of the things that and they'll be able to make better choices as a result of that.
And consistent choices too.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to do, but it's not difficult. You don't need to train like a giant knowledge base. Most likely you have a lot of that information at your fingertips already, between like your website content, the emails that you get from clients and customers, including your responses to them, reviews that you may get, FAQs that you may have, product or service descriptions, like I said, and content from your website. And we're going to quickly, in a few prompts, consolidate that and turn it into a chatbot. So let's jump in. I'm going to be doing this in Claude. You don't necessarily have to, and depending on where you're hosting your website, the way that you build the chatbot may be a little different on each case or basis. But for our purposes, I'm going to use Claude Code, and then I'm actually going to embed it on a Lovable website. And I'll share the link at that point, and y'all can actually go and interact with this thing and try it out. So the first thing, and I actually already consolidated this stuff ahead of time because it's not a lot of fun to watch, but oh, and you know what? Before I jump too far in, the Google Doc, the running Google Doc has these
I'm
prompts.
just about to paste that. Oh,
all good.
Me too.
These prompts that I'm using throughout are in there, so you can copy them, modify it to fit your business and service or product, and use them as we're going or later today or whenever. So I'm going to ask it. I'm going to give you raw emails from customers with responses, FAQs, descriptions, reviews, more. Please turn this into a clean markdown file that will serve as a knowledge base for a chatbot on my website. So essentially, like, we're creating the brain of the chatbot, its understanding of information. And I fed it all of those raw things. And I'm telling you, like seriously, I just pasted it all into the chat. Raw copied emails, website copy. It doesn't have to be clean and formatted. You don't have to like turn it into a PDF first. You just paste it all in. And I let that run, and it gave me this. Oh, I hit stop sharing, man. Saw that coming. It gave me this markdown file, which is admittedly a little hard to read, but it basically just gave me this organized, nicely formatted in markdown document. It has all of this information that it's going to use to reference responses to questions in the chatbot. Now, I wanted to confirm that it like understood it and that the information was working. So before I go into building the chatbot, I gave it a prompt telling it what it was. You're a customer support assistant for Pro Swing Baseball Co. If there's anything with a name similar to that, no likeness intended, apologies. Here's everything you need to know about our products, policies, and common customer questions. Study this and confirm you're ready to answer customer questions. And then I just give it that file, that markdown file that I just showed you. And we can let that run. Not going to lie, Chris, the risk of doing a live show, Claude had an outage this morning.
Yeah, we were panicked because like in the lead up to the show, Claude was like down for the count.
Done.
Yeah, and we could have switched to ChatGPT, but you know.
Yeah, and I had pre-baked some of this stuff. There are a few things that I'll just kind of skip through. So I had it for you, but you know, I want to be able to show you it actually run. So it's now looked at it and saying, I'm ready to go. So now I'm going to give it a test question just to confirm that it's like giving accurate results. So I'm going to say, I have a 9-year-old son who is tall for his age. What size swing trainer should I buy? And using that brain, that markdown file that we compiled as a knowledge base, it's giving me the right response, explaining it. And so cool. The interaction, or like essentially we've just kind of confirmed like the knowledge base works. Yeah. It's able to reference it. It's giving right answers. It doesn't seem to be getting confused, anything like that. So then next, and you can do this in the same chat. I have these in separate windows. Actually, you know what? No, that's stupid. Let me go back into that one. So cool. It works. Now I'm going to ask it to use Claude Code to turn this into a chatbot that can be embedded on any website. So I want it to be clear that like, I don't want this to have to be used in like Claude Design or something like that. I want it to ensure that it's standalone files and instructions that I can give to any other platform and install it. Now in the prompt, I'm going to update it to say Lovable because that's what I'm using. Provide the files and a prompt or instructions for installing on Lovable. And we'll let that run. Now what it's going to do is it's going to create a couple of files for me. It's going to create a CSS file that's going to style the chat window. It's also creating the HTML, like the embed of HTML code that that my website will need to run the chat, as well as a code snippet to install. And I'm asking it for a prompt to give Lovable, so it just has this clear, singular instructions. Again, the first time I was running this morning, I like went into Lovable and I start handwriting this like long prompt about what I'm trying to do. And I realized that all I had to do was say, provide the files and a prompt for installing a Lovable. in Claude, and it was going to give me that. So again, just like it's a silly shortcut, but why spend that time trying to describe what you're doing when Claude can do it better? Now, I am going to jump over here because I have run this. It takes a few minutes. It's not super time intensive. I want to say it was like a 5-minute run, end to end, but
because it's writing code for you right now, right?
It's literally writing code for me right now. It's writing React components for the chatbot, or using React components to build this chatbot that's going to live on my website. Now, I have what I need. Now, there is one step that I want to clarify. If you're using Claude Code to do this, you will need, since the knowledge base lives within Claude, you will need a Anthropic API key. And you can go to console.anthropic.com to get that. When you log there and with get API key and generate a new one, it will need that. And now, if you're using Lovable, I will, like, I'm, kind of peek behind the curtain. You could just be building this on Lovable with that knowledge base that you've generated in Claude. You don't need to have Claude Code actually write it, but I kind of liked the way that it worked better. So I thought I'd show that, especially because if you're not using Lovable, you do want it to live somewhere else like Claude Code.
Yeah. I will say, like, this is one of the areas where less technical folks can get bitten, because when you're doing things like generating API keys, you're going to want to make sure that those things aren't just available to the wide internet.
Yes.
And so one of the things that really means is, like, when Claude generates JavaScript content for you to add to your website, for example, you never want your API key in that script. One of the benefits of Lovable is that it has a feature called, what do they call it? Secrets or environment variables or something like that.
Secrets, I think.
Yeah. And it's like a place in Lovable, which Kat just asked, what is Lovable? Lovable is an AI website builder. We've demoed it on some free previous videos. I'll go grab some links and drop them into the chat.
Yeah, definitely worth checking out.
But that is a benefit of using a tool like that, is you can put your API key or whatever other credential that you might need for your website to work in this secure space inside of Lovable, so it's not something other people can see. Because in the case of like your Claude API key, if that were to just get out into the wide world, other people could make requests against that API key, and all of the costs and all of the traffic
is coming to your account.
Yes. Yeah.
Also, why, like, until you're sure that it's secure, like, I have auto reload on my account turned off, because until I'm sure, like, the worst that can happen is I lose $5, But if I have auto reload turned on, and that key is exposed and used in a nefarious way, I could just have those charges running against me. Now, the cool thing about Lovable too is, like, in the prompt that's in the library in the Google Doc that we shared, the prompt with the key, you put it in and immediately Lovable flags that and goes, oh, this key shouldn't be in the code. It should be stored, and it handles it for you. Now, if you're using WordPress or something like that, or another site builder, I would explicitly ask Claude to give you instructions for how to securely install the chatbot and make the API key a private call, so you don't risk that. But yeah, that's the one little technical bit of this. Now, again, I will say, if you are using Lovable to build a site, or Replit or a similar builder like that, you can do most of this, aside from the compiling of the knowledge base, you can do most of this in there, and it will configure how to handle those things in terms of the API keys. So we take that and we take this final prompt, and I'm now instructing it to install this thing. I'm telling it the files that I'm bringing over, and these are the files that Claude had provided: the CSS, the styling, the HTML for the actual code, as well as a script that needs to go in the head tag. And I'm literally just giving it those instructions, and it's going to go ahead and handle it. Like I said, you do also give it your API key here. Now, I feel secure doing that, because I know the second that I paste my API key into this prompt, before I even hit send on the prompt, actually, Lovable goes, oh, API key's been detected. It shouldn't be, stored this way, and flags it and handles it. Now, I ran that this morning. Again, probably took about 3-4 minutes. I don't want to make you guys sit through that. And this is the result that it produced. No additional back and forth or anything. It took the files, it took the script, it styled it properly. And on the live site, and I just dropped the link to this in the chat, everybody can use it. We've got this little chat widget in the bottom right corner. And when I click it, our chatbot pops up and I can ask another question. I bought a swing trainer and it doesn't seem to work as expected. What should I do? It's going to think for a second. Again, it's referencing that knowledge base. It's not that it's been pre-trained on all of those answers. It goes back to that knowledge base that you've built each time to construct the right answer. So I'm so sorry you're having trouble with your rotational trainer. Before we look at returns, let me help troubleshoot. Most issues clear up once customers watch the first few drill videos. Have you watched the instructional videos yet? If you've already gone through those and it's not still not, and it directs them. And now I might want to prompt it more explicitly to provide an option, but in an earlier test, it gave the 800 number or an email address or a way to contact support for additional help. And now you've got somebody who is dissatisfied with the product, who's come to your website, maybe when you're busy elsewhere, and wouldn't have, wouldn't have any way of interacting with them on the website anyway. And they've found either a solution to their problem or at least a path forward, where it's not just leaving them in frustration and maybe a desire to go leave a bad review or something like that. Instead, you've engaged with them automatically. And I kid you not, y'all, like I woke up this morning and hadn't really formulated the idea for today's show, and was able to build this system in about an hour this morning. And that's with some of the, like, let me figure out how to do this still, not, where I had to kind of like work around a few things. So literally taking like unformatted reviews, FAQs, emails, website content, having Claude turn that in seconds into an organized markdown file, and then having Claude Code use that markdown file to build a chatbot that you can then embed in a single prompt into your site on Lovable, or if you're using a different provider. It would be a slightly more manual. You would, upload the files to a location and add the script. But again, we're talking about an hour to build a functioning, effective chatbot for your website. And that's it. We got a bunch of questions here. Should we start?
Yeah, we have so many good questions.
Oh, is it a good or a bad thing? Where do you want to start?
Let's start with some questions about this specific tutorial, because there were also questions just not necessarily related to the tutorial, but coming at it from a different angle. And I saw Catbase just posted a great question. Could I point Claude to my website and tell it to build the markdown based on tutorials and info pages rather than copying, pasting loads of emails, etc.?
Yes. And I think that's a great idea. I mean, with the website content, especially, let's say you have like a 12-page, 15-page website, maybe more. Yeah, you don't want to sit copying and pasting that stuff. Give it the URL and tell it to scrape it, and it'll go do it. It'll learn from that. Some of the things like your inbox, maybe it doesn't have access to, and that's where I would just, dirty copy paste in. But yeah, absolutely, you can point it there.
Yeah, and like that's a great spot to point it at, honestly, because you've probably built those FAQs and blog posts based on things that you've been hearing in your business over the years. And like the main benefit of these chatbots isn't making up information from nowhere. It's being able to take information that exists somewhere else in your inbox or blog or whatever, and presenting the right information conversationally based on, human language requests.
Yeah.
So that's awesome if you have that.
Yeah.
And the models are great. Like one of their core tools with Claude Code or Claude, the client itself, is they can search the web. So if you give it websites, it's going to be able to, in most cases, look at the content on your page and put together the markdown file for you. You're actually way ahead if you already have these pages.
Yeah, 100%. And if you watch some of the previous episodes where we talk about optimizing your website content to address pain points and questions, you've probably got really great content there.
Yes. Okay, let me see. What's another good one from there? I'm going to come back to projects in just a second. So Karen Kent asks, when Claude responds to you, do you ever ask Claude to double down on phrases or wording? And I think this means make sure that what Claude provided is not violating copyright work. How do you think about that?
In terms of its responses?
I guess so. Like, yeah, I think this means when it's generating content for you. Do you ever have it check its work, make sure that it's not giving you rights protected material?
I'll be honest with you. I almost always, especially if I'm using it to do research, I almost always ask it to fact check. Actually, Chris, you and I were conducting an interview recently for the show, recording an interview for the show, and we were doing some question prep and using Claude to kind of refine some of the line of questioning and stuff like that. And it was a great use case of like double checking its work, because this was not necessarily copyright infringement, but it just got something wrong and it didn't realize, and it was very confident in its response. And it essentially like conflated an experience. It assigned that experience to the guest when it had actually been an interviewer in a past interview they'd done. It was their experience. And so like, asking it to double check, it went back through everything and it identified those things and went, oh, great catch. I misattributed this experience that wasn't theirs.
Yeah.
And that was super helpful in making sure that we didn't look like goons. But yes, I always ask it to double check work.
And Karen just said, just to clarify, correct, I want to be sure I'm not violating copyright. And so here's where I'm going to give you a piece of advice from the way that I use AI. If you're asking it to write content for you, I almost never use exactly what it wrote for me. It's probably not going to violate copyright. Like it's not going to, it's not supposed to give you responses back that are direct citations or quotes without citing them. But I find that just, this is a general good practice, is if you're using AI to help you write something, don't treat what it gives you back as the final thing you're going to publish, because on the one hand, that will help you make sure that you're checking your work, like Jesse was talking about. But on the other hand, it helps you stand out, because like if everybody on the internet does that, of just take whatever Claude or ChatGPT gives them and publishes it, that is what people call AI slop. That's the thing that follows the same exact language structures and tone. Even if you tell it to use different tones, when you read as much of this content as Jesse and I do, both in our work and also because we're really interested in the space, you get to the point where you can really tell what is likely to have been generated by an AI directly. And the most interesting content on the internet, which is still how you stand out, how you build an audience by being interesting and helpful, has personality, has some sort of humanity in it. And sometimes that exhibits itself in like imperfect grammar or in a strange turn of phrase that really connects with people as people.
Yeah. You hit it a couple of episodes ago when we were talking really about the beigification of the internet, right? And I think it was Erica had a great question about, if is the whole internet going to start to look alike and sound alike? We really view, I should say, I really view most of these tools as like efficiency unlocks in terms of like doing like that middle 80% of the work for me. It's like, I'm still going to give it the idea and the instructions. I'm still going to finish it and bring my own voice or opinion to it at the end. But that 80% in the middle that might have taken me days or weeks before, or I didn't have the ability to accomplish the thing that it's doing, is the unlock. It's and those that just put out the canned responses are going to fall behind. You said it best the other day, taste. You still have to bring, that's still what you bring to it.
Yeah. Yeah, because people like people, generally speaking. Even if you say you don't like people, you like things from people.
We're wired to want connection and things from other people.
Yeah.
And a more literal response to Karen, I know I don't have one off mind right now. I'll try to think of it and maybe drop it in the email or something like that. But there are tools out there that you can drop your copy and content into, and it will check it for, not just copyright violations, but also the word is escaping me right now. Taking somebody else's words and not attributing to
plagiarism.
Them. Thank you, plagiarism. Yeah. There it is. Yeah. Man, college was too long ago. I forgot that.
Okay, we had another good question that is related to the concept, but not necessarily chatbot-y. And this comes from Medfax, who has a lot of really interesting stuff in here. Using ChatGPT, do you set up separate projects rather than combine all in one chat? For example, say you have 30 products, all very different with lots of information per product. So would you do 30 different projects, 30 separate projects versus adding all in one?
And I'm taking that this is for the knowledge base, like building the knowledge base.
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, I personally wouldn't. If it's the same business, I would keep it in one knowledge base unless you hit like file length limitations or, unless ChatGPT tells you that you've exceeded a certain size or whatever, and you need to break it up. Even still, I'd probably keep it in the same project, just multiple files. Like you could do a markdown file per product.
Yeah.
If that was helpful, but I would still feed them all into the same project. So that it has that full context. If you're talking about separate businesses, things like that, yeah, I would keep those things separate so it doesn't become muddied, because it will retain memory and start to try to like reference past conversations and things like that. And if they're not related to that business, then that becomes a problem.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No, this has been a great one.
As usual, like I would love for y'all to reach out and let us know if any of you actually implement this. Send us like your website with your brand new chatbot, or if you run into problems, like reach out, let us know. We want to figure out how to simplify that even more. I'm a big proponent of using like web builders like Lovable, because it just simplifies a lot of the technical stuff. But if you're not, like, let us know what that experience was like. And never forget, if you get stuck, ask Claude or ChatGPT or whatever platform you're using to help you get unstuck. Hey, here's the problem I'm running against. Here's the error message I got. Help me solve this.
Yeah, and if you're still stuck or stuck on like an idea, like you need brainstorming help, bring that stuff to these live streams. We're here every Tuesday and Friday, and there's so much more fun when you have questions and ideas. And the questions don't have to relate to what we're demoing, because we're trying to keep our demos much shorter so we can spend time asking questions and helping you get to the point where you try the thing that we just demoed or make progress on something else you were doing. Like, we really want to be a resource. We're not just doing this because we find it interesting. Like, we do find it interesting, but the real thing that we want to show you is you can do so much more than you could 2 or 3 years ago. And even then you could last year, because these tools are so accessible and they give you superpowers, honestly. And so what we want to do is not just talk about this, but if you have questions, if you're looking for advice on how to go about something, we want to be here to help you do that. And if there's something really cool that would be valuable for other people to see as well, we might just fire up a browser window and walk through trying to do whatever thing it was that you were talking about doing. This is some really cool stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. My last tidbit reminder: we talked a long time ago when we were doing some image generation about double checking it. I don't know if you can see it, but
oh my gosh, that looks painful.
I can't get zoomed in any further, but that grip and elbow bend there is impressive and wildly unnatural. I hope that's not how they're teaching people to swing. So always check the work that it gives you, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this has been fun. And like Chris said, if you have questions, bring them here. But also, if you want to submit them ahead of time and we can even like prep around it a little bit, you can go to aweber.com/shift, and there's a big white button that says submit your question. You can send us your questions ahead of time. And we'll do our best to answer them in a helpful way during the show. You can also sign up for the email newsletter that has all kinds of extra tidbits that don't make the show. And again, that's at aweber.com/shift.
Yeah. And if you could like and subscribe too, I hate to be that YouTuber, but liking and subscribing does help us reach more people.
Mash that like button.
Yeah.
I think that's what the kids, I don't know. I'm aging myself here. No, but it really does help us. And if you found this useful, share it with, I know as small business owners, entrepreneurs, creators, you have a community of small business owners, entrepreneurs, and creators because it's necessary to survive in this kind of space that can otherwise be isolating. If you found this useful, please share it with those friends, that community. It would mean a lot to us because we want to keep doing this. We both have a lot of fun doing it, but it's also just, we can get better in time and making this more and more useful for y'all. And the more we share that, the more we can do it.
Yeah. And the more questions we get, the more fun it is for all of us too. You know, like it's so fun to have somebody come up with an idea and then test it out live. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's really fun.
Before we jump off, I think we kept that pretty concise. Hopefully just as valuable.
Right around a half an hour.
Getting better. We're getting better. I don't know about where everybody is watching today, but I know for us, Chris, it's a pretty rainy, dreary day. What are you going to do to step away from technology? Actually, you're down the shore, so I don't know what it's like for you.
It's dreary, and I'm not doing anything to step away from technology. I'm at my computer all day through the night today.
I'm getting worried, man. You said you've given that response a couple of times. Make sure.
I got it. I got out at the weekend, but like this stuff is so fun because I'm a fairly technical person, but I'm not an engineer. I've been doing product and design for the past 20 years. And honestly, these tools have allowed me to build so many of the things that I always wished that I could build, but I couldn't get over the hump of understanding some of these concepts. And now I can. Like I built a tool for running simple surveys to help to use in one of my newsletters. Then I built another iOS app for managing my my group of friends I play pickleball with. These things that, like, if you're a natural tinkerer and builder, like I always would hit a wall in the past, and now I can just go through that wall and get the thing into people's hands. It's awesome.
Yeah. Love it. Well, I hope everybody does something to step out and get away from technology, but if not, I hope you try this out and we'd love to hear the results. Chris, before we drop, do you just want to preview real quick, like 2 sentences, what we're going to be covering on Friday?
Oh my gosh, I can't remember. We talked about it just before this.
using the page builder with
yes. Yeah, we're going to show Aweber's been working on a page builder that is awesome. We've demoed it a couple times. It's getting close to being ready for you all to play with it too. But I'm going to show you a new approach to building lead magnets now that we have the power to build simple applications ourselves. And you can do it. I'm going to show it in our page builder, but you could do it in Lovable or Replit to a different degree. But I think it's going to open a lot of our eyes to what we can build to help grow our audiences now that aren't just the same static PDFs or quizzes or whatever the things were in the past that worked. Yeah. And Dave, we will get it to you as soon as it's ready. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm excited for that one. So definitely come back Friday at noon Eastern time, as always. And we hope to see y'all there. Thanks for being here, y'all.
Drew is really good at making other people look really good.
Stunning.
And with the help of Aweber's marketing platform, he's built an entire audience on his ability to turn heads. So even though Drew's just a team of one, it never really feels that way.
That's a wrap, folks. Come on out.
Drew uses Aweber. It's how teams of one get more done.
Oh, thanks, Tim. Have sweet. You're the best, Tim.
With Aweber, it's like he has a whole staff helping him grow his audience and build professional-looking content.
And send. You got it. Great job, team.
From automated email campaigns.
Oh, of course, sign up. You got it from here?
To insight-packed reports.
How are we looking on new subscribers? Is that the day we launch the new course? Nice.
Aweber gives Drew the freedom to go forth.
Hey.
And be Drew. Aweber. Time to love what you do.